What's going on, guys? Welcome to Championship Sunday Lake Fork Bassmaster Elite Series 2022. Man, we got some cooler weather. You see, it's the end of May and I'm wearing my hoodie this morning. I don't know what's going on. Apparently the high today is only gonna be about 69. The wind has changed directions. It has calmed down and laid down. It's not nearly as rough as it has been on the lake. That could change everything on Championship Sunday. We've got a couple guys within a realistic reach with Gerald Swindle and Brandon Polonick chasing down Lee Livesey. Man, that's three really big names right there. Then we got 7 more guys that are fishing Lake Fork. You just never know what's going to happen. If a guy goes out and does what Lee did last year on Sunday, catches 42, it could open this thing wide up, especially if Lee doesn't catch 30. But if Lee catches 30, this thing's probably over. We'll have to wait to see how it unfolds.
From the man with the plan saying, catch me if you can. Leave me to see what you're trying to do. We're all joking and everything. It's so rare. I mean, to win at home once is one thing, but to go back to back on this incredible history, what would that mean to you?
Oh, it's life-changing, first of all. Everything that's gone on the last couple of years. Just winning for the Lake Fork community and all my fans and friends. It's a dream that we got a shot. There's nobody else I would rather be and I really mean that in a competitive way because of how good it is. You know, this is going to be a shootout. Somebody's going to find a fresh fish today, I think, and get a really big bag. And these guys are trying to get in this lake. It's like this is better. It still hasn't shown itself this week. I think the weather change might come.
The weather change, you think it might fire it up?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I like weather changes after constant stuff. It changes stuff. You know, I've got a lot of places to run that there hasn't been a fish yet. I just need one of them to show up and get this game over.
All right, I'm going to talk to you about something Rick Johnson said. He said he believed that maybe some of your spectators were trying to shove him out of the area. Is that confirmed or denied?
Confirmed. Yeah, we're kind of slowing down a bit. I want everybody to slow down just a little bit.
If you pull this off, one thing you're synonymous with is Bush Light, Whiskey Myers, having a good time. What kind of party can we expect tonight?
It would be a real bad day to Bush Light, trust me.
Leave the seat. I want to wish you luck. We're going in just 2 minutes. Trying to get it done.
10 anglers remain, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear it for them. Going out in just over 10 minutes. Official time right now, 6:49.
My man, Davey Height. Look, you're taller than me now. Look at you.
Yeah. All of a sudden, you're taller.
It's all good.
It's amazing.
Man, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us this morning. Championship Sunday. What else can be said? Weather change, big weather change. What do you think, man? Is this thing wide open or is the league kind of going to?
Well, the change in temperature, I mean, we can certainly feel it. It's supposed to be only in the upper 60s today. It's been in the 90s ever since I've been here. I don't know how much, honestly, we talk about this a lot, but I don't know how much the fish actually feel that being 8 feet deep. The big thing I know they can tell and they feel is the wind has been blowing 20 to even 30 miles an hour out of south-southwest, and now it's a light breeze out of north. That changes current, that changes bait fish, that sort of thing. So I think the change in the wind direction will probably be a pretty big deal today. Brandon Polonick, where he's starting, this might actually help him because just a light wind coming right in there on his spot. So that's someone that I think we'll have to definitely watch this morning.
He's had the wind blowing off of his stuff. Now the wind's blowing into his stuff that he's starting on. It is going to change the playing field, and it's going to move some fish around. I couldn't imagine that it wouldn't move some of these schools around. But with the lightening of the winds and being calmer, it really probably opens it up for guys to find some new fish maybe, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that we talked a little bit about yesterday, all these guys use forward-facing sonar of some type. Hummingbird's got it, Lawrence got it, Garmin's got it. They all got it. But the wind has been blowing so much that the trolling motors on some of these places out on the main lake trolling motors coming up and down out of the water, it's very, very hard to use that. Today, if it stays, the forecast is, like 6 or 7 mile an hour wind, they'll be able to really search while they're on a trolling motor for those fish moving around, and even try to catch those isolated fish. We saw Patrick Walters do that here in the fall. We actually saw him the last 2 times, and he didn't have the tournament that he normally has here, and I think maybe those really tough winds and the bow of the boat moving up and down a lot really hurt him.
Well, instead of just I guess, do we have anybody in the top 10 that's fishing up shallow?
I don't think so.
I don't think
so. Shane Lee Hugh has been fishing the first 2 days. I know he caught him shallow. Yesterday, not so much, but I don't think we have anybody that's going to really be fishing shallow today.
So other than maybe Shane might do some of it?
Yes.
I did see him late in the day pull up on a spot that looked like he was way up the lake, and it was pretty skinny water where he was fishing. I guess the question there is, with the cloud cover and the wind direction change, and really the cloud cover and the cooler air temps, that shallow water get affected a little more by it. Could that make some of these shad spawn fish fire a little better?
Yeah, I would think so, because they spawn a lot during the night and first part of the day, and when that sun gets up and that heat, because they're so shallow, those shad spawn on the surface. A lot of times they'll be over maybe 20 or 30 feet of water, but they'll be 6 inches deep.
Yeah.
So I think they can tell the difference in the temperature. Yeah. More so than a bass is on the bottom
sitting
in 8 feet.
15 foot of water or whatever.
So that could extend, and Shane has been catching some good fish those first 2 days on top water, so that could help. That certainly could.
The big question is, how far back is realistically too far? I know nothing's out of the question on Lake Fork. I mean, a 50-pound bag's not out of the equation on a lake like this. And, I mean, it's happened out here with guides and such as that before, but realistically, how far back is too far back from Lee, sitting at 87?
Yeah, that's a $1 million question. It really is. I've thought about that a lot. I've talked to Lee a lot, and it seems like, well, he's got it wrapped up, but it's not ever quite that easy.
No.
You know that as a fisherman, you've got to go out each and every day and catch them. Yesterday showed a little bit that he's human. Yesterday morning he struggled while we saw Josh Strachner catch 28 pounds in 20 minutes, but he did come back and he regained the lead. So I don't know. I think if you're 14, 15 pounds back, like some of these guys are, even though they're in top 10, it would be
everything would have to line up.
Yeah,
Lead have to kind of fall on his face.
Yeah.
You'd have to blow it out.
Yeah, and Polinick, if you're 14 or 15 back, Polinick and Lee would have to fall on their face, so to speak. And I hate to say fall on their face because I've done it, and I hate to call it fall on the face, but not catch them.
And out here, catching 17, 18 pounds is kind of fall on your face a little bit.
That's exactly right.
It's a whole different standard on this pond for sure, man. It's going to be interesting to watch. We kind of did some math, did some numbers last night, looked at some trends of the guys' weights, and it seems like this might be kind of a race to 115. And so if Lee goes out and catches upper 20s, man, he's probably going to be there. Polnick can go out and catch a 30-pound bag like he has in this event already. He's going to get to that 115. It kind of appears to be that race to 115 from what I'm seeing it. And to me, it seems like Gerald and Brandon definitely have a shot at Lee. Outside of that, it's going to take something almost miraculous. Right?
Totally agree. Yeah. Totally agree. And coming in, we all talked about, you and I talked about, this might break the all-time record, 132 pounds. Yeah. Lake Fork has that potential, but it's just so hard to do for 4 days in a row.
Everything has to be perfect.
So hard to do for 4 days in a row.
Everything has to be perfect, and the wind, I think, was the biggest factor in lowering some weights. What wind does, it just limits these guys. It limits the areas they can fish practically and the types of techniques that they can fish in those areas. It just takes things out of your arsenal when the wind blows like it has. And that probably has something to do with it. We had calmer winds earlier in the week, and boy, we were catching them. And that's what I thought we were going to break the record, because we were whacking them earlier in the week. Today, calmer winds, a little different conditions with the cloud cover. I don't know how that's going to affect these offshore fish. But man, you never know on this. Like, we have not seen a 35 to 40 pound bag yet. Surely we're not going to go 4 days on Lake Fork with this crew and not see a 35 to 40 pound. Somebody's going to do it.
I agree.
Dave,
so I got to ask you.
All right.
Who's going to win?
Man, that is really hard to call. I really think it's between Lee and Brandon. This deal with the wind blowing into Brandon this morning,
a little scary for Lee.
That's a little scary, because Brandon could get out there early and then just kind of, you know how it is. Once you get to 27, 28 pounds, it becomes hard to cull, and you really focus in on giant bass.
Yep.
And then that makes Brandon dangerous, because now he's fishing for 1 or 2 bites for 6 hours. I mean, that's I think Lee's going to do it. Lee knows this lake better than anyone. With the wind changing directions, if anybody, to me, has a huge advantage, because there's going to be the wind change direction moving fish. These other guys are going to have to kind of start over to some degree on those schools. Well, Lee knows where they set up in the north wind in May.
Yeah.
He's been in this situation before on this lake many times and had success. So to me, Lee has the hugest advantage today with the weather change and the wind change. Like you said, not really weather, it's the wind change that matters. And so I think Lee's going to win it. I do. I really think Lee's going to win it. I can't see him slipping too much. He has kind of declined a little bit each day, but this is going to open up new areas and new fish to him. And I think he might be the one that does the 35 to 40 pound bag today to blow this thing up. Yeah.
I agree with you, though. Especially these first few hours, keep an eye on Brandon Paul then.
Absolutely. Davey Height, man, it's been such an honor to talk to you this weekend. Thank you,
Great
brother.
talking to you.
Yes,
Great
sir.
talking to you.
We've caught up with Brandon Polnick this morning. My man is sitting over here. As you can see, the dam right behind me just looks like the dam. But, you know, we've been talking about these long, super extended main lake points. And if we'll actually show you some shots of the map, man, there he is, one right there where Brandon Polnick's sitting. Now, he is fishing on the right-hand side. He's kind of fishing off the side of this point, off of the steeper drop-off, and where it makes a corner up against the dam where that point extends out. Again, we'll show you that on the map. But he is utilizing that super long main lake point structure. He's just found a school setting up a little differently on him. This is where he started every morning of the tournament. You see him back here right now in the middle of the day. The cool thing right now is we're watching this guy potentially chase down the leader. He is within 2 pounds, 2 pounds and 1 ounce to be exact, of Lee Livesey about halfway through the final day. So this is becoming, you know, maybe the weights aren't quite as high, but this is becoming the slugfest that we thought it would be, where these guys are throwing darts at each other. The ironic thing is Lee just ran behind us, and he's now running up the east side of the lake. Lee hasn't been on the east side of the lake this entire event. He's been on the west side of the lake the entire event, and we just saw him and his armada head north. Maybe that was Swindle. I don't know. Maybe Swindle's got a big group. Somebody with a bunch of boats just headed up the east side. But Lee and Brandon are kind of having a little duke out right now. They've both got a limit of fish. They've both got some small 2 pound class fish, multiple 2 pound class fish that they can call out. So still a lot of room for their weights to go up. Right now they're sitting at, I think, 103 and 101, something like that. So pretty cool deal. Now, Brandon has caught his biggest fish today on another main lake point, but all of the structures that Brandon's fishing pretty much are main lake points like we've been talking about this entire event. So we've seen Gerald Swindle, the G-Man. Most people, I mean, probably most people, definitely a ton of people's favorite Bassmaster angler, has spent a lot of time up here where we have found ourselves now, which is a ways up the lake here. One thing different about what Gerald's been doing, if you look over here to my right, your left, you'll see just how thick those stands of timber are out there. And that's something different that Gerald's been doing. You know, a lot of these guys have been fishing areas that do have timber, but they're not as thick as that, man. In fact, we'll go ahead and take the boat over here a little bit for you guys and show you just how thick this timber is. I mean, he's going around in here and he is beating his boat to death. And you got to remember, guys, it's a north wind. This is the final day, Championship Sunday, but it's a north wind. Now, I'm going in here because Gerald's not anywhere close here. He's as far away on Lake Fork just about as you can get from this area. So no, I'm not messing anything up. I think he's done with this area for the day. We've only got a couple hours left. But I wanted you guys to see just how thick these fields of timber are. I mean, you almost got to pick and choose where you take your boat in. Your boat doesn't even fit between some of those gaps in that timber over there. So Gerald's been really getting after it and fishing a very physically tough and demanding way to do, mentally tough and demanding way to do it. You got to think south wind, where we are way up this east arm of the lake. Man, Gerald's been taking waves over his bow. That south wind's been blowing 30 miles an hour from, look that way for me real quick, Miss Lady. Guys, 30-mile-an-hour winds rolling up through all that, coming up here to hit Gerald right in the dadgum mouth while he's bumping and banging. And as you can see, some pretty tightly packed timber that you can't hardly even get your boat through. Now, Gerald is fishing a pretty unique structure out here. He's got himself a big point out here, big broad point with some couple little narrow kickoffs to it. Pretty neat little piece of structure. We're going to show you guys that on the map real quick. So hopefully you guys will be able to see some of your Lake Fork Guide Pro lanes running through right here, but you can see this kind of big broad point that comes around out here. It sticks out right where the boat's sitting, right kind of out here on the end of it. But if you look, like there's like a little tight narrow spot right there and like a little side hump over here, and there's a little kind of corner that dips down a little deeper over here, and you got a sharper drop off over here on this little spot right here. As you can see, a lot of features to this offshore structure that Gerald Swindle's been fishing. Couple that with all that timber as we showed you before, and you've got a pretty interesting place that Gerald's been fishing, and he's been dobbing that big shaky head around in here, and that is what has been getting Gerald Swindle to the 100-pound mark, where he is right now. He's about to go over the 100-pound mark. Now today, it hadn't worked out for him. That south wind ain't blowing in here. That north wind's blowing. It's cooled off. This water up here generally is shallower, so he has probably felt more of an effect on his fish than some of the guys on the main lake have with this cold front that's come through. So Gerald is now transitioned, and he is running something on the complete opposite side of the lake. actually, ironically, where he just caught his biggest fish to get him closer to the leaders into 100 pounds. Lee Livesey's been fishing that throughout the week. Lee didn't hit it today. Gerald's on it right now. Lake Fork fish is pretty small sometimes when you got guys as good as these, but it's always interesting to see how that works out. Gerald fishing this side of the lake as far away from Lee as he could get. Then when he makes a move, he moves right to an area that Lee had been using throughout the tournament. So we've caught up with Mr. Lee Livesey. We're now in the last round of the tournament, and if you guys watched it in live, Lee has now pulled away, created some distance between him and the field, the biggest lead he's had all week, and he's got less than an hour to go. He's surely going to win this event, it seems, once again. I don't think there's any way he loses it at this point. You never know, miracles happen on Lake Fork, but I think Lee's got this one in the bag. And what's really interesting about what he said, if you look over here and check out his huge crowd, we've just got an immense crowd of boats around him, so we are way, way, way away from Lee right now. But what's really interesting to me is as I look at this place, number one, most of the stuff that I've seen guys fishing on this lake, in all honesty, guys, I've fished it before. It's main lake structure. It's not a huge lake. You know, all of us guides kind of fish a lot of the same stuff. So I've fished most of the stuff that we've showed you in this video. I think everything in this video that we've showed you, I've fished. I've never fished there. That's the first thing that stands out to me. The second thing is when I look at it on the map, on the Navionics, there's really no reason for me to even show it to you guys. There is nothing special about this point on Navionics. It is kind of a more secondary point inside a creek, and he is kind of fishing off to the side of it a little bit, but there's truly nothing that stands out to me when I look at it on an Navionics map. I don't really understand what it is that's special about that. What I'm thinking that has to be happening is Lee just has to know that there's a special hard place down there. We all know these fish on Lake Fork thrive on these hard places with the rock, the clay, the shell, the hard, clean spots. So I think Lee just over the years has found himself a subtle, out of the way, doesn't show up on Navionics, hard spot, maybe a little shell mixed in, something like that. But whatever he's got going, it's worked for him. He's leaned on this place hard the last couple days. It's really done everything for him today. I think he's caught almost every bass on this spot on Championship Sunday. So that is a huge advantage that Lee has on the field when he comes to Lake Fork, because he has knowledge of stuff like that, that even guys like me who are here every day, he knows something I don't know. Do I know something he doesn't know? I don't think so. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. I doubt it very seriously, but he obviously knows something I don't know, and he knows something the rest of the Elite Series don't know. That little old do-nothing point that's just sitting over there has got a special hard spot on it. He's about to win another Elite Series event on that spot right there. Well, guys, this is going to be my last moment at the 2022 Lake Fork Bassmaster Elite Series. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to be here for the finish of the weigh-in. As you see the weigh-ins going on right now, Shane Hughes on stage. Man, all I can say is what an amazing tournament, as it always is. It never disappoints. Lake Fork never disappoints. The Bassmaster Elite Series group, they never disappoint. Congratulations to Lee Livesey winning once again. And oh yeah, after live coverage turned off, he just went ahead and caught him an 8-pound something fish to finish up at 113 pounds. And actually, in Saturday's live stream before the final day, that's exactly what we said he would end up with. The one thing that caught me off guard was none of the other guys challenged him really. Once he got to 113, the next guys were 8, 9, 10 pounds behind him. So great job to Lee, man. On a day where the weather change messed everybody up, Lee had the biggest advantage being local to the lake. He capitalized on that and executed perfectly like he always seems to here on Lake Fork, especially the last couple years, man. Great job to Lee. Hey, 6 Cents Fishing, hybrid jigs, 300 DD crankbaits. The hybrid jigs and the 300 DD crankbaits were both key players for Lee Livesey this week in this victory. You should definitely go get some of those if you're going to fish throughout the summer at all at Lake Fork. Go get some 300 DD crankbaits and 3/4 ounce hybrid jigs from 6 Cents Fishing. When you do, make sure you use that code, your Lake Fork Guide, at 6centsfishing.com. It'll save you 10% on all orders. I don't want to leave. I got to go. I got something to do with my kids, so I'm at my cutoff time. Mercer's talking too much. That's really what the problem is Mercer is too long-winded, and apparently so am I. So we're going to get out of here. Thank you guys so much for watching this year's coverage from the 2022 Bassmaster Elite Series right here on Your Lake Fork Guide, and we'll see you next time right here on Your Lake Fork Guide.